But I think this tip and talking about budgeting, that kind of leads into tip number 2, which is to audit your recurring expenses. And this is where I would say people should do as they start to move from, all right, I'm tracking my expenses. Now I want to put it into a budget. Well, let's audit everything I'm going to throw in here, right? I know what was a full month, right? What that picture looked like. Now I want to refine it into something that I'm intentional with. And that's where I think auditing your expenses, that really comes into play. And again, if you're not tracking your expenses, chances are there's subscriptions, there's bills that you just don't know you're paying for. Maybe they're higher than they need to be. But if you actually take the time to track everything, now you can actually look at, all right, how do I audit these things to make sure that I have as little monthly expenses as possible? That to me was a big thing for me as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, they're not even looking at their bank accounts. So there's obviously subscriptions or whatever coming in and out, and they're not even realizing it.
Yeah.
I think of the business model that Planet Fitness has, and I think
Mm.
they almost bank on people signing up to go to the gym and then just not going because
Yeah.
and the amount is so small. Like at 15, $20, like it's something you're not really going to notice every single month. And you actually have to go to the physical location to like cancel your membership. So a lot of people are just not going
Mm.
to do that. So I think this is a really, really good step that people need to do. In addition to those, subscriptions or whatever that's coming out that you're not really aware of, there could be some fraud in there too. I know my mom was telling me, someone kept taking out like a little bit out of her bank account, like, just to kind of test the waters, I think. And she actually
Yeah.
had to close that account and get a new card because that was something that was coming in and out. And if you're not looking at your bank,
Yeah.
someone could really be siphoning off the top there. So that's super important to keep in mind here. But I think I don't even know the statistics, but I think there's a lot of people out there that have subscriptions coming out that they're not even fully aware of.
Well, and I think when you ask people like how many subscriptions do you have, like they're probably not thinking of all of them that they do have.
No.
Like, right? You could have there's at least 5 streaming services out
Yep.
there, right? Like, and most people have like 3 or 4 of them. Okay, so there's 3 or 4 subscriptions right there. You just mentioned a gym membership, something
Yep.
like Amazon Prime too, right?
Hmm.
Like, there's
Yep.
just so many different areas where you can have subscriptions. Even if you download like an app on your phone and that has like a drawing app and it has a monthly subscription, or like a
Yeah.
note taking app, like there's so many ways that you can have these subscriptions, and that's where they get you. Like you said,
Mhm.
if it's like 5, 10, 15, $20, right? You're like, it's not that big of a deal. And we've said this so many times before, but like, it's that idea of death by a thousand cuts. Like, rarely is it ever going to be in someone's budget where it's like, here's one thing that's just ruining everything, and if we can fix that, then everything else is good. No, it's usually like a bunch of little things that on their own totally insignificant, right? Like on their own they don't make any difference, but you have like 10 of them, or even 5 of them, right? 5 of them at $20 a month, there's $100 you could free up right there. It's the little expenses, and when you have so many of them, it wrecks your monthly budget.
Yeah. And I will say I even have some of those yearly that I almost sort of forget
Yeah.
about. And there's like apps. Like I have an app for like it's like a swimming app like that I can track all the scores because my husband's a swim coach, so I like to do that. And it
Nice.
comes out yearly. And not that it's super expensive, but I'm like it'll just come out randomly in like November, and I'm like, oh, like I forgot about that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and then actually another one was the Blink subscription for Amazon Blink. We don't even have that right
Hmm.
now, and it charged me like not that long ago. It's for their like security cameras and
Oh.
for like the cloud storage. And we had it at our old house, but here like our landlords gave us the ring to use. So I was like, it came out of my account like not too long ago, and I was like, oh, I don't even use that anymore. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get in right now and cancel that, because if I don't, I'm gonna forget and it's gonna happen again next year. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just these little tiny, and again, it's not even that much, $30 here, $10 here, but it really adds up if you just continue
Yeah.
to let it happen instead of like actually going into your account, taking inventory, closing the things you need to. Yeah, definitely. Like, what do you always say? Death by a thousand cuts or something.
Death by a thousand cuts. Like,
Yep.
you get one paper cut, you're fine. You get a
Yep.
thousand paper cuts, and all of a sudden you're bleeding to death. So
Yeah.
that's a
And
little
and
graphic, but
do we really need, if you are, and this is a great place to reduce your expenses, if you are looking to create some room in there, yeah, get rid of some of those subscription or some of those streaming services. Like it adds
yeah.
up. I'll be honest, we do have a few of those. Not that we're needing to like decrease our expenses at this point in our journey, but it does add up. I was talking to somebody about it, somebody I was working with, and we were adding it up, and I think she was at like $80 a month for just like TV, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, girl, you can just take Netflix and you just use Netflix. Like, you need to cancel everything else. Like, that's crazy to be spending that much, especially whenever you're, paying off debt or whatever.
Well, and especially on the streaming services one, I'm like, you're not going to watch more than one thing like at a time in a sitting, right? So commit to this month, I'm going to have Netflix. Maybe next month I could have Hulu or Max or Disney Plus, whatever it is, like you can still have all of them. Just pick one, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you can kind of switch as you switch your shows that you kind of watch. But I don't know, it kind of got me thinking too, like so we're still in our apartment while we're renovating the home. And I just kind of jumped the gun on everything. And I was like, all right, let me get all my utilities set up. And one of those utilities, because we had like this concierge service through our agent who was like, oh, do you want to set up, X, Y, and Z? So we set up our internet, and it comes with like a TV package as well. And I was like, yeah, we want to get that set up. And they started charging us monthly, even though we're not living in the house. And let me tell you, when my wife was like, so we're paying like $80 a month and we're not even there. Like, I called it's Spectrum. I called them. I was like, hey, like my wife is really pissed off at me because I started this. Anything you can do. They're like, we can put you on like a seasonal hold. So they're like, you can't use the service, but we'll give you 50% off for like 4 months or whatever. I was like, that is perfect. So yeah, but like that in line with like just auditing your expenses, like there's so many times where people, you look at their budget and they're like, well, these little things, they don't make a difference. But like you said, you add those up, and then if you're trying to get out of debt, like $80, $200 a month, like, that range of money, that can make such a big difference towards actually starting to make progress.
The information, opinions, and recommendations provided on this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and do not constitute professional financial advice. Any financial decisions you make based on the content of this podcast are your responsibility. We strongly recommend consulting with a licensed financial advisor or other qualified professional before making any significant financial decisions. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that we are not liable for any financial outcomes.